and welcome back to Kimi's English Podcast, the show where we turn your English learning journey into a fun and fearless adventure. I'm your host, Kimi, and today, oh yes, today we're diving into one of the most powerful and surprisingly simple techniques to speak English like a native.
That's right. It's called the shadowing technique. And no, it's not something mysterious or spooky. It's actually a method used by language learners, actors, and even diplomats to develop natural fluency, clear pronunciation, and fast thinking in English.
If you've ever listened to a native speaker and thought, I wish I could talk like that, this episode is for you.
Grab your headphones because we're going to explain exactly what shadowing is, why it works like magic, and how you can start using it today even if you're a beginner.
Let's jump right in and get ready to shadow your way to confident English speaking. Now we are going to our new two hosts. They are cover today's topics with deep dive.
Welcome to the Duck Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and really get straight to the knowledge you need. Today, we're diving into something I think many language learners dream about, that desire, to speak fluently, confidently, and just sound really natural, like effortless, like a native speaker. We've all been there, right? I mean, stumbling over words, maybe getting the intonation all wrong, feeling kind of trapped by grammar rules you learned, and you just wonder, how do some non-native speakers do it? How do they get that native-like fluency? It can honestly feel like magic sometimes, like some secret they're not telling us. Well, today we are pulling back the curtain on that magic. We're going to shine a light on a really powerful, proven learning method. It's actually at the heart of tons of success stories. It's called the shadowing technique. And this isn't some, fly-by-night internet trend. It was really championed, popularized even by the language learning legend, Dr. Alexander Ogilvy. It's a time-tested tool used by polyglots, advanced learners all over the world. And the goal? To seriously improve your pronunciation, help you nail that intonation, get the rhythm right, build real fluency, and maybe most importantly, boost your confidence when you actually speak. So what's our mission for this deep dive? Well, we're going to really dissect this technique. We're digging into two excellent sources. First, a super practical, very insightful video guide from Hadar of Accents Way English. She really knows her stuff. And second, an in-depth article called Shadowing, Speak Like a Native Speaker. We'll pull out all the key insights, the practical steps, everything you need to really understand and use this. So by the end of our conversation today, you, our listener, should have absolute clarity on what shadowing really is. We'll get into the science, the why it works so well. It's actually fascinating. We'll give you clear steps on how to do it right. Plus, we'll talk about the biggest mistakes people make. Definitely want to avoid those. And we'll share some powerful tips to really optimize your practice. The ultimate goal here is to help you genuinely transform how you speak, boost that confidence, and, make that native-like fluency feel less like magic and more like something you can actually achieve. Ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. What exactly is this shadowing technique? It sounds, a little mysterious, maybe even slightly sneaky.
Yeah. The name is a bit intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not about following someone down a dark alley. In language learning, it's defined as a spoken repetition exercise. But that sounds a bit dry. It's really dynamic. Basically, you listen to a native speaker.
Okay.
And you repeat what they say almost instantly. Immediately. You're not waiting for them to finish a thought or even a full phrase. You're mimicking everything: tone, speed, rhythm.
So right on their heels.
Exactly. The idea is to shadow them as closely as possible. Think of an echo that's like a split second behind the sound. You're trying to become their auditory shadow, mirroring all those little vocal details.
Right, okay. And that sounds very different from just, listening to a podcast while I do the dishes.
Totally different. That's a crucial distinction. Shadowing is the opposite of passive listening. It's intensely active and dynamic. It demands constant focus. You really can't zone out or you lose the thread immediately. And it requires this incredible coordination, right? Between listening and speaking happening almost simultaneously. You're not just hearing the sounds, you're processing them, analyzing them in real time, and trying to reproduce them.
Wow, okay. That sounds demanding.
It is. And maybe most importantly, it sharpens your auditory discrimination like crazy. You're constantly training your ear to catch those tiny nuances, pronunciation details, stress patterns, the rise and fall of the voice.
Things you'd normally miss.
Things you definitely miss with passive listening. You're not just taking information in, you're actively trying to replicate it. It forces your brain to tune in on a much deeper level.
And you said it's more than just words. It's not just repeating vocabulary.
Oh, much more. As you're doing this active mimicry, you start to absorb the speaker's whole way of speaking. It's not just getting the sound right, although that's part of it. You're internalizing their musicality.
Musicality, like the melody of the language?
Precisely. The natural flow, the cadence, the subtle shifts in pitch and tone, and how they use language naturally in the moment. Hadar, in her video, uses a great analogy. She compares it to singing along or humming along with a melody.
Oh, okay, I get that.
When you sing along, you're not just focused on the lyrics, right?
Yeah.
You're tapping into these different layers, the rhythm, the feel, the emotion of the song. Layers you don't get if you just read the words on a page.
Right.
Shadowing is like that for speech. It helps you feel the language almost physically. It goes beyond just the intellectual understanding of grammar and vocab. You start to internalize the prosody, the rhythm, the emotional color that makes speech sound natural. It's vital stuff.
So it's like learning the music, not just the notes.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But the results sound almost too good to be true sometimes. Why? Why does this simple echoing work so incredibly well? What's the secret sauce here?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? It seems simple on the surface, just repeat what you hear.
Yeah.
But the why behind its effectiveness is really profound. It's not just about surface mimicry. It goes much deeper. It's about deep internalization and building automaticity.
Automaticity, like doing it without thinking.
Exactly. Building that muscle memory for speech. It's about fundamentally changing how your brain perceives, processes, and produces the language. It's neurological. One of the biggest benefits, and maybe one of the hardest things to teach traditionally, is how shadowing develops your intuition for the language.
Intuition, like a gut feeling for what sounds right.
Precisely that. You start to understand English or whatever language you're learning on a deeper level. It's not always logical, not purely intellectual. You begin to literally feel the rhythm of the words and sounds in your body. You grasp these nuances that are really hard to explain with a rule.
Like why a native speaker chooses this phrase over that one, even if both are grammatically correct.
Yes. Often there's no clear rule in a textbook. It just sounds better. It feels right. Shadowing cultivates that innate feel, which is so important for moving beyond sounding like you're reading a script. It lets you speak more naturally, more fluidly.
It frees you up from constantly constructing sentences in your head.
Absolutely. Allows you to speak. And then there's pronunciation and intonation. Shadowing is an absolute powerhouse here. First, it tackles those really stubborn, fossilized pronunciation errors.
Oh, those things you just can't seem to shake, like saying tree instead of three.
Exactly those. Or mixing up vowel sounds like in ship and sheep. Because shadowing forces you to listen so incredibly closely and reproduce the exact sounds. It actively retrains your mouth muscles, your tongue, your lips, your articulator.
So it's physical training too.
Definitely. You're not just knowing how to make the sound, you're feeling it, building that crucial muscle memory. And maybe even more importantly, shadowing is fantastic for building natural intonation and rhythm.
That music we talked about earlier.
Yes, the rise and fall, the stress patterns. Native speakers don't talk like robots, right? Their voices have melody, and that melody carries meaning.
Like how asking a question sounds different from making a statement.
Exactly. Or how emphasizing a different word can change the whole point of a sentence. Shadowing tunes your ear and your voice to those vital patterns. Things often get overlooked when learners are just focused on getting the grammar right or learning new words.
It helps you become part of the orchestra, not just someone reading the sheet music.
Beautifully put. You start to play your part naturally.
Okay, so better pronunciation, better intonation, more intuition. What else? Does it help with listening too?
Oh, absolutely. It significantly enhances your listening skills. Because you're doing this active mimicry, trying to catch every sound in real time, you get much, much better at catching fast, real-world speech.
So it helps you keep up with native speakers talking quickly.
Definitely. Your brain becomes hyper-attuned to how things actually sound in conversation. You start recognizing common contractions like gonna for going to, wanna for want to. You pick up slang colloquialisms much more easily.
Because you're trying to say them yourself.
Precisely. It's not just about understanding individual words anymore. It's about how they blend and shift in natural speech. It's like getting a decoder for fast conversation.
And I guess all of this must feed into fluency and confidence.
Massively. That's perhaps the most visible outcome for many people. As you practice, you just naturally start speaking more fluidly, less hesitation. The repetition ingrains those natural speech patterns so you're not constantly searching for the next word or how to phrase something.
And less of the uhs and ums.
Yes. Those fillers often come from that mental friction, that lack of automaticity. Shadowing smooths that out. And the confidence boost is huge. When you practice daily, you literally hear yourself sounding better, more native-like.
I must feel amazing.
It really does. It creates this sense of accomplishment, this belief that, hey, I can actually do this. And that confidence feeds back into speaking more, taking more risks. It's a virtuous cycle.
Plus, it sounds like something you can actually fit into your life.
That's the final really practical benefit. Its efficiency and accessibility are remarkable. It truly is an efficient exercise you can do on the go.
Like while commuting.
Yep. Driving, doing chores, walking the dog, waiting in line. You can turn that otherwise dead time into active, productive language practice.
So instead of just zoning out listening to music.
You can be actively shadowing, actively improving. It makes integrating consistent practice into a busy schedule so much easier. It's very pragmatic.
Okay, this is compelling. The what is clear. The why, in terms of benefits, makes total sense. But now let's get into the really cool part, the science. How does our brain actually learn from this echoing? It feels intuitive, but what's happening under the hood? Is there some neuroscience that explains why it's so effective?
Yes, absolutely. And connecting shadowing to how our brains are wired to learn is where it gets really fascinating. Its effectiveness isn't just, people saying it worked for me. It aligns beautifully with core principles of language acquisition and what we know from neuroscience.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the brain doing?
All right, first up, mirror neurons. Have you heard of these?
Vaguely. They have something to do with imitation, right?
Exactly. They're these incredible neurons that fire both when you act and when you observe the same action performed by someone else. So if you watch someone reach for a cup, some of your mirror neurons fire as if you were reaching for the cup.
Whoa, okay.
When you're shadowing, you are actively engaging and activating these neurons related to speech production. It's like your brain is running a simulation. It helps you internalize pronunciation and speech patterns, almost as if you were generating them originally.
So it's creating a direct link in my brain between hearing the sound and making the sound.
Precisely. It strengthens those neural pathways, making it easier for you to actually produce those sounds and patterns yourself later on. It bridges perception and production.
Okay, mirror neurons. Cool. What else?
Then there's the connection to Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis, a really big idea in language learning.
Ah, yes, I+1. Input that's just slightly beyond your current level.
You got it. Krashen argued, we learn best when we understand input that challenges us just a little bit. The I+1. Not too easy, not too hard. Shadowing naturally provides this comprehensible input in a very dynamic way. You're hearing authentic native speech.
Which is probably I+1 or even more for most learners.
Right, but the act of trying to reproduce it immediately forces you to engage with that input much more deeply than just listening. You're constantly stretching your abilities in real time, pushing those boundaries just enough to stimulate learning without causing total confusion. It hits that sweet spot.
And you mentioned muscle memory earlier. That plays a role too.
A huge role. Think about learning any complex motor skill, playing guitar, typing, riding a bike.
Yeah, at first you have to think about every little movement.
Exactly. But with practice, repeated action leads to unconscious control. Your fingers just know where to go on the fretboard, right? Shadowing does the same for the incredibly complex muscles involved in speech, tongue, lips, jaw, vocal cords. It physically trains these mouth muscles to produce accurate sounds automatically. You move from conscious effort for every sound to automatic, effortless execution. That's building unconscious competence.
And freeing up brain power.
That's the crucial outcome. This leads directly to cognitive load reduction. Think about how much mental energy it takes to speak a foreign language when you're constantly thinking about grammar, vocabulary, and how to form the sounds. It's exhausting.
Totally. Your brain feels overloaded.
Shadowing helps automate parts of speaking. As those basic mechanics, making sounds, linking words, using common intonation patterns become more automatic, it significantly frees up cognitive resources. Your brain doesn't have to work so hard on the how of speaking.
So that frees up mental space for
What for the what? For expressing more complex ideas, understanding subtle meanings, engaging in faster back-and-forth conversation, focusing on the actual message.
It's like upgrading your brain's operating system for communication.
That's a great way to think about it. You're making the basic processes more efficient so you can handle more complex tasks.
Okay, the science is convincing. Mirror neurons, I+1, muscle memory, reducing cognitive load. It all clicks. So knowing all that, let's get practical. How do we actually do this? What's the step-by-step? Let's break down the mechanics for someone wanting to start today.
Right. Let's build the blueprint. Step 1 is choose the right material. This is foundational. Garbage in, garbage out right.
Makes sense. What makes material right?
First, clear audio. Essential. Needs to be slow enough to follow but natural. Avoid anything too muffled, too fast, or overly complex, especially at the start.
And it must be a native speaker.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Always use audio from native speakers to ensure you're mimicking authentic patterns.
Okay, and how long should the clips be?
Start small, really small, like short dialogues, maybe 30 to 60 seconds. Don't try to shadow a whole hour-long lecture right away.
Why, sure.
Builds confidence and maintains focus. Our brains can only hold so much in working memory. Chunking it down makes it manageable and lets you really master a small piece before moving on. Prevents overload.
Got it. And transcripts. Important.
Hugely important. Crucial even. Ensure you have the written text or script. This is a game changer for connecting sounds to spellings and for deeper analysis later.
So good sources would be?
Lots of options. Podcasts with transcripts are great. Audiobooks, YouTube interviews, especially if they have accurate captions. TED Talks are fantastic. Clear speakers. Transcripts usually available.
Okay, got my 60-second clip from a native speaker. Clear audio, transcript ready. What's next?
Step 2. Listen first. Before you even try to utter a sound, just listen to the segment several times.
Just listen. Not repeating yet.
Not yet. This is about priming your brain. Focus specifically on the music pronunciation, intonation contours, how words link together, connected speech, the overall rhythm and stress. Don't stress about understanding every word at this stage. Just absorb the soundscape, feel the flow, calibrate your ear.
Okay, listened a few times, got a feel for the music. Now
the main event. Step 3, begin shadowing. Start the audio and speak with the speaker. Aim for that split-second delay we talked about. Be their echo.
And keep the audio playing. Don't pause after every word.
Exactly. Don't stop the audio. Maintain the flow. That continuity is key for building rhythm and fluency. And remember, especially at first, don't try to understand every word. Focus on mimicking the sound, the rhythm, the intonation, how they say it.
Mimic everything, even like their emotion.
Yes. Go beyond words. Mimic the voice, emotion, and even breathing if you can. Really try to embody their delivery. It makes it more effective and, honestly, more fun.
All right, I'm shadowing, trying to mimic everything. How do I know if I'm actually doing it right? It's hard to judge yourself while you're doing it.
Excellent point. Self-assessment is tricky here. We often don't hear ourselves accurately. That's why step 4, record yourself, is absolutely essential.
The dreaded listen to your own voice step.
Yes, it can feel awkward, but it provides that crucial, objective feedback loop. Use your phone, computer, whatever. Record yourself shadowing this segment.
And then?
Then comes the critical part. Listen back. Compare your recording directly to the original native speaker audio.
What am I listening for?
Look for the gaps. Where are you too slow?
Yeah.
Any specific mispronounced words that jump out? And pay close attention to intonation mismatches, places where your pitch pattern differs significantly from the native speakers.
So that's where the real learning happens, seeing the difference.
Exactly. That comparison gives you concrete data on what you need to adjust. It turns guesswork into targeted practice.
Okay, I've recorded, compared, identified some issues. Now what? Just do it again.
Pretty much. Step 5, refine and repeat. Shadowing isn't a one-shot deal, especially with those short segments. Listen to the original segment multiple times more, focusing on the areas you identified. And repeat the shadowing exercise over several days.
Repetition, repetition, repetition.
You got it. As the sources emphasize, perfection comes with repetition. Your brain needs that consistent exposure and practice to rewire itself, build that muscle memory, and make the new patterns stick. It's about gradual improvement through consistent effort.
That's a really clear blueprint. Choose material, listen, shadow, record, repeat. Makes sense. Now, are there different ways to shadow, or is it always that immediate echoing?
Good question. While the core idea is that immediate echo, there are a few useful variations you can use depending on your specific goals. It's flexible. The main one we've discussed is classic shadowing. repeating immediately, right on the speaker's heels. This is generally the best for overall fluency, rhythm, and getting that natural flow. It pushes your processing speed.
Okay, the standard echo. What else?
There's delayed shadowing. Here, you intentionally wait maybe a second or two, or perhaps until the speaker finishes a short phrase before you repeat.
What's the benefit of waiting?
It has a memory challenge. You have to hold that chunk of language in your short-term memory before producing it. This is great for boosting recall and really solidifying comprehension of slightly longer phrases or sentence structures. It forces deeper processing.
Interesting, like a mini memory test while you practice. Any others?
Yes, reading while shadowing. This is where you follow along with the transcript while you're shadowing the audio.
Ah, using the eyes and ears together.
Exactly. This is particularly good for visual learners or for anyone really focused on connecting the spelling of words to their actual pronunciation. Especially helpful in languages like English, where spelling can be tricky.
Understatement of the year. Okay, so that helps bridge the gap between reading and hearing.
Precisely. It reinforces the sound-spelling connection.
Okay, different methods for different goals. Classic. Delayed, reading. Got it. But with any technique, there are always pitfalls. Things people do wrong that sabotage their progress. What's the biggest mistake people make with shadowing? The number one thing to avoid.
Hadar nails this in her video. She calls it the no intention mistake.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It means going into the exercise without a clear intention about what specific aspect of speech you are actively listening for and trying to improve in that session.
So just repeating mindlessly, like a parrot.
Exactly. She stresses shadowing is not just a copy-paste or become a parrot exercise. If you treat it like that, you're missing out on most of the benefit. You might mimic superficially, but you won't achieve deep learning or lasting change.
Why is that so bad? If I'm repeating the sounds, aren't I learning?
Well, yes and no. Your brain is an amazing filtering machine. It has to be. Otherwise, we'd be overwhelmed by sensory input. It prioritizes what it thinks is important. If you're just repeating on autopilot without a specific focus, your brain filters out a lot of information. You're likely missing out on crucial details.
Like what?
Like subtle vowel sounds, the way words link together smoothly, specific intonation patterns where the stress falls in a sentence. Your brain might just focus on getting the words out, the basic meaning, rather than the musicality, the pronunciation details that make speech sound native. You haven't told your brain, hey, pay attention to this specific thing.
So without intention, your brain just doesn't know what to zoom in on.
Precisely. It's like trying to find Waldo without knowing you're looking for a guy in a striped shirt. You're just scanning the page vaguely.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So the solution is...
Simple but powerful. Always set an intention. Before you press play, consciously decide, what am I listening for this time? What specific thing am I trying to notice and replicate? This mindful focus directs your brain's attention, tells its filtering system what's important, and turns passive repetition into active, targeted learning. It primes your brain for change.
Can you give some examples? What kind of intentions could someone set?
Sure. Let's say you struggle with vowel sounds, like the difference between E in sheep and I in ship. A classic problem. Your intention for that session could be, I will detect every single time the speaker uses either the tense E or the lax I sound. Just noticing it consciously, because you've set that intention, is the first huge step. Then, as you shadow with that awareness, you're more likely to do it correctly yourself.
Because you're actively listening for it.
Exactly. It starts to rewire your brain, breaking those old habits. It's conscious awareness driving unconscious competence over time. Or maybe your intonation is a bit flat. You sound monotonous.
Yeah, that can happen.
Your intention could be, I'm going to pay attention only to how the speaker's voice goes up or down at the end of sentences. Ignore everything else for now. Just focus on that final pitch contour. Or another time, I'm focusing only on the stress words. How are they made longer? Is the pitch higher? Then you consciously try to replicate just that one feature.
So laser focus on one small element at a time.
Yes. Making these targeted changes with intention and repeating them enough, that's what makes them stick. It's not about fixing everything at once. It's about deliberate, focused practice on specific elements.
Setting intention. Got it. That feels like a crucial shift in perspective. Okay, so we know the steps, we know the variations, we know the biggest mistake. How do we really optimize this, take it to the next level? What are some advanced tips for getting the absolute most out of every shadowing session?
Great question. There are definitely ways to supercharge your practice. First tip, and that sounds maybe a bit touchy-feely, but it's important. Select a voice you like, maybe even love.
Really? Does that matter?
Adar makes a strong case for it. Choose a speaker whose voice you genuinely like, one that resonates with you. Find a voice whose sound you actually want to master. Why? Because if you practice with a voice you find grating or unpleasant, you might do it with a slight resistance. Subconsciously, you don't want to sound like them.
So that resistance hinders the process.
Exactly. It reduces effectiveness and makes you less likely to stick with it long term. Liking the voice fuels motivation and makes the mimicry feel more natural and desirable.
Okay, find a voice I like. Good tip. What else?
Don't hesitate to adjust the playback speed. This is super practical. If the native speaker is talking too fast for you to catch the details, slow it down. Play it at half the speed or 75% of the speed.
Most players let you do that now, right?
Yep, podcasts, YouTube, many audio players have speed controls. Don't see it as cheating. See it as using a magnifying glass. Slowing down allows you to pay attention to more things, those subtle sounds, links between words, intonation shifts that just fly by at normal speed.
So you can really dissect it.
Exactly. Process it more deeply. You can always speed it back up as you get more comfortable. Clarity first, then speed.
Makes sense. What about using the transcript more actively?
Yes, utilize the script strategically as a working document. Don't just read along passively. Work with the text. Copy it into a document, then mark it up. Use highlighters.
Mark what?
Things you hear in the audio. Highlight the words that get stressed. Draw lines to divide sentences into thought groups based on where the speaker pauses naturally. Underline specific sounds or words you find challenging and want to focus on during your intentional practice.
So you're creating your own annotated guide based on the audio.
Precisely. It deepens your analysis
Yeah.
and connects the visual text to the auditory input very explicitly. Just maybe don't do this while driving.
Oh, good safety tip. Definitely a desk activity.
And we need to hammer this home again because it's that important. The unmissable power of recording yourself.
Back to the recording.
Hadar calls it the way to optimize your practice. The loop is play the audio, pause if needed, repeat, record yourself doing it, and then critically listen to the recording.
And why is listening back so crucial again?
Because, as she says, a lot of times when you listen to something from the outside, when it's not inside your head, you notice a lot more things. You catch your own mistakes, the rhythm flaws, the pronunciation errors, the intonation issues much more clearly than when you're just listening internally while speaking.
So it makes your practice way more efficient.
Dramatically. You could potentially practice less to get the same results because each repetition becomes more targeted based on real objective feedback. You fix what's actually wrong, not what you think might be wrong.
Okay, record. Message received. Any final optimization tip?
Yes, and it's a big one. Quality over quantity. This is the golden rule. You absolutely don't have to do the entire video or the entire podcast episode every time you practice. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
So shorter sessions are better.
More focused sessions are better. Don't try to do a lot. Instead, do less, but be very thorough. Take one paragraph, maybe even just one or two sentences, and do it again and again and again with clear intention, recording yourself, analyzing, refining.
Really master that small chunk.
Exactly. The core principle is quality, not quantity. 15 minutes of deep, focused, intentional shadowing on a short segment will yield far greater results than an hour of mindless, passive echoing. Maximize the impact of your time.
Quality over quantity. Love it. Now, all these tips are great, but they only work if you actually do the practice. Consistency seems key. How do people realistically build this into a regular habit?
You've hit on the absolute linchpin. Consistency. It really is like exercise for your mouth and brain. You need regular workouts to see results. Doing it intensely once in a blue moon just won't build that muscle memory or rewire those neural pathways effectively. Daily, or at least near daily, practice, even if short, is far superior.
So how can listeners integrate this, especially if they're busy?
Think about leveraging existing routines or downtime. For example, your morning routine. Could you fit in 10 minutes of shadowing while making breakfast or coffee? Start the day activating those language circuits.
Okay, that's manageable.
Your commute. If you walk, take the bus or train, put headphones on and shadow audio. That time is often just passive listening anyway. Turn it into active practice.
Transforms commute time into learning time.
Exactly. For an evening wind down, maybe instead of scrolling social media, try shadowing one TED Talk daily before bed. They're usually a good length, clear, and have transcripts. Focused practice before sleep can actually be great for consolidation.
Interesting. And weekends.
Maybe set a small weekend challenge, like choose a new podcast to shadow every Saturday for 20-30 minutes. Keeps it fresh, explores new voices. The goal is to find those pockets of time and make shadowing a sustainable, almost automatic part of your routine, not just another chore on the to-do list.
Those are really practical ways to build the habit. And to really solidify why someone should bother building that habit, let's talk impact. Can we look at a real-life example? Does this technique actually lead to major transformations? Let's talk about Rafiq. His story, mentioned in the source material, is a fantastic illustration of what's possible. He's a non-native English speaker, originally from Bangladesh, and like so many learners, he'd spent years studying English in school.
Knew the grammar, had the vocabulary.
Right, but he admits he just couldn't speak fluently or naturally. That gap between knowledge and performance, he felt shy, hesitant. Then he discovered the shadowing technique, apparently through YouTube. He was intrigued and committed to trying it. He started small, just 10 minutes daily, shadowing TED Talks.
Which is a great starting point.
But it wasn't easy at first. The article says it was hard. He stumbled, got frustrated, and felt silly talking to himself.
That's so relatable. That initial awkwardness is real. Pushing past that is key.
He did push past it, and the results started showing relatively quickly. After a month, just 1 month of consistent daily 10-minute practice, he noticed big changes. He started understanding fast English speech much better, which had been a huge hurdle. His pronunciation improved noticeably. And get this, people started asking if he had studied abroad.
Wow, that's powerful external validation. Proof that others were hearing the difference.
Totally. So by month 3, his confidence grew. He actually increased his practice to 30 minutes a day. He even started recording his progress on YouTube.
Sharing the journey, inspiring others, keeping himself accountable, smart.
And the long-term outcome, just incredible. In only a year of this dedicated practice, Rafiq transformed from shy learner to confident speaker. He didn't just improve, he fundamentally changed his relationship with spoken English.
That confidence is often the biggest win.
And it had real-world consequences. He landed a remote customer support job with a US-based company.
A job requiring clear, confident English communication daily.
Exactly. And he directly credits the shadowing technique for making that possible. From struggling student to thriving professional, thanks to this method. It's a powerful story.
It really is. And it beautifully sets up the next logical question. Is this just an English thing? Or does shadowing work for other languages too?
Right. Rafiq learned in English, but what about French, Spanish, Japanese?
The answer is a clear, resounding yes. The core principles are universal. While our discussion and sources focused mainly on English, shadowing works for any language you want to learn to speak more naturally. The brain mechanisms we discussed mirror neurons, muscle memory, auditory tuning. They aren't specific to English sounds or grammar. They're about how humans learn speech through imitation.
So you can use the same technique regardless of the target language.
Absolutely. You just need the right materials for that language. The sources give some great examples. For French, you could use podcasts like Inner French or news like RFI Journal en Français Facile, clear speech, often with transcripts. Learning Spanish. Try notes in Spanish for dialogues, or find interviews with speakers from the region whose accent you want to emulate. For Japanese, things like NHK News Easy, or even shadowing dialogues from anime with subtitle scripts can work wonders for rhythm and intonation.
Anime shadowing, interesting.
Yeah, and for Arabic, there are tons of interviews on YouTube with speakers of modern standard Arabic, MSA, that provide excellent, authentic material.
So it's incredibly adaptable.
Hugely. It highlights the versatility of shadowing. You can use it to target specific accents, dialects, and even regional variations within a language. Want to sound more British than American? Find a British speaker to shadow. Want to nail a specific regional Spanish accent? Find audio from that region. It really is an incredibly versatile tool for any language learner aiming for authentic, confident speech. It empowers your voice.
Wow. Okay, what a journey through this technique. We've really covered a lot of ground. We started with the basics, what shadowing actually is, that immediate echoing, moved to the why, the benefits, like intuition, pronunciation, fluency. Then we dove into the fascinating science mirror neurons, I+1, muscle memory, freeing up brain power. We got the practical steps. Choose material, listen first, shadow, record yourself, repeat. Talk about variations like delayed or reading while shadowing. Critically, we flagged the biggest mistake, shadowing without intention, and stressed the need for focus.
Absolutely crucial.
And we finished with optimization tips, liking the voice, adjusting speed, using the script, recording, and that golden rule. Quality over quantity. all backed up by Rafiq's amazing story.
Indeed. It's been a thorough exploration. And I think what really stands out is that, no, shadowing isn't literal magic. There's no wand waving. But it's consistent, intentional application that can lead to truly remarkable, tangible progress. It feels like magic when it works. And it's about so much more than just sounding perfect or fooling people into thinking you're a native. It's about building real connection through clearer communication. It's about gaining that unwavering confidence to speak your mind. It's about achieving undeniable clarity.
Allowing your actual thoughts and personality to come through without the language barrier getting in the way.
Exactly. Empowering your authentic voice.
So as we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with something to think about. Reflect for a moment. What aspect of your spoken communication do you most want to enhance right now? Maybe it is distinguishing tricky sounds. Maybe it's mastering that natural native-like intonation. Or perhaps it's simply gaining more confidence, speaking more spontaneously without hesitation. Whatever it is, how might the simple yet really profound act of echoing, of shadowing with intention help you get there? The power is there. The method is clear. Now it really is your turn. Put on those headphones, find some audio you genuinely connect with, set your intention, and start shadowing. Start your journey to speaking with new confidence, new pride, and that authentic fluency you've been seeking.
That's all for today's deep dive. We hope you now understand the topic more clearly and feel more confident discussing it in English.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Kimi's English podcast. We post new episodes every day to help you grow in fluency, step by step.
And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on today's topics? Leave a comment and share your opinion in English.
Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.